If you run software with large language models, the biggest story this week is probably not what you think. Two AI labs filed confidential paperwork to go public. Headlines will talk about valuations and Wall Street. Your job is different. You need to know whether any of this changes what you ship next month. I am not your financial advisor. I am looking at this as an operator. When capital markets enter the picture, vendors behave differently. Roadmaps get louder. Partnerships get renegotiated. And the models you depend on may become harder to swap without a migration plan. Here is what actually changed in plain terms. Anthropic said it confidentially filed a draft registration statement with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission in early June. OpenAI followed with its own confidential filing about a week later. Both companies stressed that timing is uncertain and that staying private may still be easier for some decisions. Separately, Microsoft used its Build conference to introduce its own coding and reasoning models, including MAI Code 1 Flash and MAI Thinking 1. That matters, because Microsoft is both a major cloud host and a major investor in the labs you may already be using. So, why should you care if you are not buying shares? First, public company pressure tends to push vendors toward predictable revenue lines. For operators, that often means tighter enterprise tiers, clearer usage metering, and more aggressive upsell on seats and tokens. If you are on a free or hobby tier, expect friction. Second, IPO optionality changes partnership politics. OpenAI has already been renegotiating its relationship with Microsoft, while expanding ties elsewhere. Anthropic has deep links with Amazon and Google. If you are standardized on one cloud, your default model path may shift even if your code does not. Third, hyperscalers shipping first-party models is not cosmetic. When Microsoft, Google, and others can route traffic to in-house models on their own infrastructure, list prices for third-party models become a negotiation lever. That can be good for your unit economics, or bad if your preferred model loses priority on the platform you already pay for. Who should ignore this story? If you are running a one-off prototype with a single API key and no production users, do nothing this week. If your LLM usage is under a few $100s a month, and you have no compliance requirements, treat this as background noise. Also ignore the investor narratives about which lab is winning the valuation race. That does not tell you whether Claude, GPT, or Gemini is better for your extraction pipeline next Tuesday. Who should pay attention? Teams with multi-cloud strategy debt. Teams whose contract renews in the next 90 days. Teams shipping customer-facing features where model swaps require regression testing. And anyone whose CFO is already asking for a single vendor AI budget line. Here is the stack implication I would actually act on. Document your model abstraction layer now, even if it is ugly. You want one place where prompts, tool calls, and evaluation harnesses live so you can rerun them against a second provider without rewriting application code. Pin your production model versions in config, not in scattered environment variables. Labs will keep shipping fast-moving releases with similar names. Your incident response should not depend on someone remembering which snapshot was live on Tuesday. Run a quarterly cost and latency bake-off on your top 3 workflows. Not benchmark theater, your real prompts, your real documents, your real failure cases. Store the results. When vendors shift pricing or deprecate endpoints, you will already have evidence for a switch. For coding assistance specifically, treat Microsoft's first-party coding model as a signal to diversify experiments, not as a mandate to migrate. If you are on GitHub Copilot or Azure OpenAI, schedule a 2-hour trial on an alternative stack for the same ticket backlog. Compare merge rate and review burden, not vibe. On governance, IPO-bound vendors will talk more about safety, enterprise controls, and data handling in public filings. That is useful for your security questionnaire, not because the filing is thrilling reading, but because legal teams will start asking you to cite it. What not to do? Do not freeze your roadmap because of IPO headlines. Do not rip out a working provider to chase narrative. Do not let procurement sign a 3-year exclusivity because a sales deck mentioned a megadeal. What to do this week? If you are in the pay attention group, 1. Export your current model ID, rate limits, and monthly spend by environment. 2. Identify one non-critical workflow and make it provider agnostic. 3. Put a calendar reminder 60 days before contract renewal to rerun your bake-off. The IPO race does not fix your stack. It just makes vendor behavior more visible. The operators who win are boring on purpose. Version pins, abstraction, measured tests, and no panic migrations. If this format helped you decide what to ignore, subscribe for the next operator brief. Next week I will pick one concrete release, not a